Hi, this is Beth, and today we are going to dive into slides and negatives, including some of these older formats you might find in your heritage photos. Like this is about a 3 by 4 inch size negative, and these are about 2¼ inches square. I'm a creative memories advisor. I worked in a college archives for years, but I don't think I mentioned that my dad was a professional photographer and he liked to dabble in lots of different kinds of camera formats. He also passed away very young. So these pictures are from, he was a very active photographer in the 1950s to the early 1970s. So the heritage negatives I inherited are in a lot of different sizes because of the different cameras. Now you can see these as I've been working through them. Well, look at some of these old ones. They are in these, I guess they called it glassine sleeves. They are not so good, made from wood pulp, I believe, but sort of waxed. And I am gradually, as I work through these pictures, trying to keep them sorted, I am transferring things to these either polyester or polypropylene sleeves. They are clear. Now I got mine from a company that isn't in business anymore, but you can get them from Hollinger Metal Edge. Let's start with some of these modern negatives. Remember, I used to get the I used to get 2 times the prints, all the negatives, sometimes a CD-ROM. Way overkill, but I guess I thought I needed backup. But anyhow, so these modern negatives for 35mm film, and your scanner comes with a template. So you'll put this on the scanner, and you see this is the negative template, and it says A right here, and then you've got this tab up here that says A. You're going to put that over on the edge, and it says A on my scanner bed. So put that on the edge there, and put the negative in. I'm not sure if I've got it right side up or not. And then you have this piece on the top that, let's see, I might have it backwards. Yeah, it goes in like this. To hold the negative in. And by the way, you want to handle your negatives with nylon gloves if you can. Some things like slides, you'll have a mount that you can handle it on the edge. If you have just your fingerprints might get on them and mess things up. Or if you have cotton gloves, it could leave some fibers behind. So nylon is the best to use. Actually, we have to put this tab over this little slot for the tab right here. So it just kind of clicks in. And then the important part is you need to remove the white backing, because when you're scanning negatives and slides, you need a light source. So just click that out. I haven't done this in a little while. That comes out. And now you see where we have the light source back here. So then we're going to close this and open our scanning software. But first off, let's change our settings. So instead of reflective like we used in our photographs, we want to change this to film. And then it is color negative film. Leave this in color. And I did a little bit of the algebra for you. So the negatives are about 1½ inches wide, and we want to print maybe 4 by 6 photos. So 1½ inches to 6 inches, you're going to want some pretty high resolution. So scan at 1200 dots per inch. And then we need to get our preview. So now you need to select which negative you want to scan. There we go. Now then, go back over here and hit scan. Actually, I don't know what these are photos of, so I'm just going to call it test. And it'll number starting at 1. Now, we talked about TIFF files and JPEG files. I'm going to save this as a TIFF. You can always convert it to JPEG like we did last time. And then I'm going to hit scan. Okay, and it saved the file to my desktop. That's what I had selected. Let's open it up. I'm just going to double click it and open it into my basic preview software. And you see that it is a color picture. I'm going to go to tools and rotate it. Not the best color. It's pretty old negative, but I could, if I have advanced software, I could enhance the colors and I could just save it like this and make a picture if I want to. Now let's try it with a slide. So I've taken my negative out already. Now I'm going to flip this around because this says C, and I don't know if you can see it, but this says C. I'm going to place that in the little C pocket over there so that it clips in, and then I'm going to put my slide in one of these openings. But I just want to point out I'm not an expert on which direction they go. If you remember the slide projectors with the big round carousel, your slides went in them upside down. So you're going to have to use cues. You can look at these on a light box or hold them up to a window or a light, and you can see maybe words or somebody wearing a wedding ring and figure out which direction they're supposed to go. I did look at these a few days ago, and I'm going to try them with the branding words face down on the scanner. So we'll see how that works. Put them down in that first slot and go back to our scanning software. And since we have slides, we still have film, but we go down here to positive film because negatives are sort of reverse or inverse colors meant to shine light through them and get the opposite light or dark or color on a photograph. But slides are positive. They're meant to shine light through them and onto a screen to just view them right as they are. So that's okay. I don't need my current preview. So they are positive film. Same 48-bit color. Slides are about the same size as negatives, so we're going to leave this at 1200 DPI and get a preview. Let's see if these work this time. Nope. So I'm going to select it with my cursor and then hit scan. Test number 2, TIFF. So let's open it and see. And there's yours truly, age 5, on a trip to Louisiana. And let's just open our tools here and rotate right. That one's not bad. The other one didn't have very great color, but these slides are in pretty good shape. So I'm going to hit save. Now let's try one of these larger negatives. I'm not going to do this one today, but it's about 2 3/8 inch square. And just so you know, you would scan that at about 800 DPI to get a 4x6 picture. There's another template. that you could take this out of its sleeve and just sort of lay this on there, and that would work for this smaller size. But now for the larger size, it's going to cut off part of the picture. So I had to actually make a custom template. This is going to be kind of crazy, but I made it out of cardboard because as of when I was doing this several years ago, you could not find a template for these larger size negatives. So I cut one out of cardboard. And one of the things I learned through a lot of trial and error are, for one thing, the focal point of the scanner for negatives with this light source is above the glass. When I put a negative right on the glass, it simply would not focus. So as you'll see with the negatives template, it holds them a little bit above the glass. Now the slides, it doesn't. They drop right through, but they're mounted in cardboard, so they're being held just a little bit above the glass. So I had to cut out this cardboard template very thin, not any particular measurements, just so that it holds the picture a little bit above the glass. And the crazy thing is, I had to kind of fool the software, and it's got all these little, just look at your template for your scanner, and you'll see you've got all these little doohickeys, and I even had to cut out this little space here, or it just wouldn't work. I mean, just trial and error, try different things, and then I'm going to show you an alternative too. So for the purposes of this, a lot of Daddy's really cool negatives, including, he labeled this as Daddy. So this is my grandfather, John Saunders Sr., and I'm just going to place this so that the edges are supported by the cardboard. And I've got that on two sides, so I have to kind of adjust it. And it's up against there. It's under the light source here. Again, we have film. This is a negative. It's actually a black and white negative. I'm going to leave this as 48-bit color and see how it turns out. And this is a larger negative, so I'm going to change this to 600 DPI. And we'll do a preview. Oh, that's actually not my grandfather. I think that is my dad's cousin, and he looks like he's at a wedding. So we will select the size here. Let me stretch that out just a little bit and hit scan. So I'm going to leave this as test, but if I were going through this, I would name it probably Clarkdale #1, or, you know, if you know the name, do that. And it is a TIFF, and I'm going to scan it. Let's check it out. And there you go. I think that is my dad's cousin Clark, probably. Maybe in my grandmother's living room, I don't know, but he looks very happy. And it is slightly tilted, but I could open up better editing software and fix that. Now remember, when you're finished, to put the cover back over your light source so that you can do normal scanning. And also that's a good place to store your cover. But if you have a large negative or transparency, if I didn't mention, transparency is a positive image, and a slide is a transparency that's mounted in cardboard. If you have a negative or transparency that's larger, wider than your light source, or if you don't want to make yourself, if you have a large negative and you don't want to make yourself a custom crazy template, then you're going to have to use a light box. So you'll put your large negative on the light source, and then you'll use maybe an app like PhotoMine and use your digital camera or your phone's camera to convert this to a digital photo. People have asked me, should they keep their negatives, toss them? And well, negatives were made from light, negatives and slides. They were made from light, so they're basically infinite resolution. That's going to be better than any kind of computer or scan. However, we're getting into this is old technology. It's getting harder to convert. So basically think about your legacy, what you want to leave behind, what you think you will need in the future. So as far as negatives of my trips in the 1990s and 2000s, any late 20th century stuff, that's mine. Uh, that doesn't have, a four generation picture or something like that, toss. But when it comes to heritage negatives, all these things that my dad preserved from the 1950s to the early 1970s, I am definitely keeping these. Subscribe to my channel if you want to get tips on what to do with your pictures once you've scanned them and printed them out, because that is the best way to enjoy them. See you next time.